You've probably seen this theory blowing up online. It's this wild idea that some of the biggest scandals happening right now aren't just random events, but battles in a spiritual war that's been raging for ages. So, what's the connection? In this explainer, we're going to break down the source material behind this whole theory piece by piece. Let's dive in. So, it all really boils down to this one pretty wild question. What in the world could possibly connect ancient gods and their rituals to the global elite running things today? The source video we're looking at claims it has the answer, and we're going to follow its logic to see exactly how it connects those dots. Okay, so the entire foundation for this thing, according to the source video, is this belief that human history isn't just one thing after another. Instead, it's a battlefield for a timeless spiritual war. So here's how the source video basically lays out the two teams in this war. On one hand, you have what it calls God's order. Think religion, law, morality, a system designed to guide and protect people. And on the other hand, you have Satan's chaos, which it describes as the law of the jungle, where the powerful just do whatever they want to the weak. The video's whole point is that if you get rid of the first one, you automatically end up with the second. All right, so if there's this massive cosmic war happening, how does it actually play out down here on Earth? Well, the source video lays out a very specific chain of command for these forces of chaos. And this is where a really key player comes into the story, an ancient god named Baal. The source claims that thousands of years ago, its followers would perform child sacrifices to keep it happy. Definitely keep that detail in mind, because trust me, it comes back in a huge way later. This slide right here shows you the chain of command, basically the hierarchy of evil, as the video describes it. Right at the top, it puts Satan. Then a figure it calls the Antichrist, or the Dajjal from Islamic tradition. And according to this theory, these top figures work through secret societies, which then go on to control all the global systems we see every day, like politics and the media. But, if all this is happening behind closed doors, how would anyone even know? Well, the source claims that every now and then, people, whistleblowers, artists, try to pull back the curtain and show us what's really going on. And to back this up, the video brings in testimony from this guy, Roger Morneau, a Canadian author who claims he was a former member of one of these secret societies. He said these groups do all kinds of depraved things to please Satan and that he even had supernatural encounters, like this quote here, where he claims he literally met Satan in human form. Then, the source lays out this timeline, and this is where it really tries to show a pattern of people being silenced. It points to Stanley Kubrick, saying his film Eyes Wide Shut exposed these secret rituals, and then he mysteriously died just days after finishing it. Fast forward a bit, it brings up David Crowley, whose film Gray State was supposed to tackle similar ideas, and he was also found dead. The video's point? These aren't just tragic coincidences. And all these threads, they lead right here to what the theory presents as the absolute smoking gun, the undeniable public proof that this secret world is very, very real. To really drive home just how massive this scandal is, the source video hones in on the sheer volume of data in the Epstein files. It claims the release contained more than 180,000 images, not to mention countless documents and videos, a huge treasure trove of what it calls solid proof. Okay, so according to the source, the whole story really revolves around these three main players. You've got Jeffrey Epstein, the guy who somehow went from math teacher to billionaire, Ghislaine Maxwell, his partner, who the video calls a spy, and of course the infamous private island where all these alleged activities went down. Now, a word of warning, the claims detailed in the source video get really dark. It alleges the files contain horrific accusations against people like Donald Trump, and that Bill Gates was involved in his own disturbing situations. But beyond specific names, the source claims the files describe ritual abuse, torture, even murder and cannibalism of children. And the whole purpose of this evil? To get blackmail material on the world's most powerful people so they can be controlled. Okay, so that brings up a huge question, right? Why would all this dirt suddenly come out into the open? The source argues that the timing is anything but an accident and that there's a much bigger geopolitical game being played. Now, here's a detail the video really hammers home. None of this information is actually new. It claims that U.S. authorities have had these files since 2019, at least. Which, of course, leads to the million-dollar question that the source is trying to answer. If they've had the files for years, why on earth release them now? And the answer, according to the video, it's pretty simple. The release isn't about getting justice. It's about power. It's the deployment of a political weapon. A political weapon for what, you ask? Well, here's the alleged endgame, according to the source. The files were dropped to blackmail world leaders. The message, it claims, is simple. Either you support the Greater Israel Project, or your dirty laundry gets aired next. The video presents this as the ultimate power play. All right, let's get to the final part of this, where the source kind of ties everything together into one big warning for the world. So the source reminds everyone of the big Western names it claims are caught up in this, politicians, tech billionaires, even famous scientists. But then, and this is a really crucial point for the theory, the video draws a stark contrast. It asks, why are leaders who've always pushed back against Western foreign policy, people like Putin, Khamenei, and others, nowhere to be found in these files? To the video's creator, that's all the proof you need that this was a targeted political hit. And in the end, the source brings everything full circle, right back to that spiritual war. It argues the whole Epstein scandal isn't just a crime, it's a symptom. It's what happens when a society abandons divine law. The video's final parting message is that when morality disappears, the powerful will always crush the weak, and the only way out is a return to faith. So, there you have it. That's the theory in a nutshell. A really complex story of secret societies, ancient gods, and modern-day blackmail. And it really leaves us with a bigger question to think about. Not so much about the theory itself, but about the world we live in. What does it mean when these kinds of stories about hidden forces pulling all the strings, find such a huge and willing audience?